Why haven't you sacked those shadow ministers who disobeyed your direct orders?
Well, I was very clear that a responsible government gets the negotiating parties around the table, and that's why I took the approach that I did. The Chief Whip has now dealt with those that didn't follow the advice, and that's a perfectly satisfactory outcome.
Now, the Treasury fears that there might be a wage price spiral as a result of demands for ever-increasing wages against this backdrop of high inflation. Your spokesman earlier this week suggested that you don't fear a wage price spiral. Why is that?
Well, the first thing to do is put responsibility where it lies. And I know the government has sort of masterclass in blaming everybody else. We've had an economy that hasn't grown for 10 years. That's the cause of the situation that we're in at the moment. Low wages for 10 years, low growth for 10 years, and now we've got high inflation and high taxation. The government's decided to impose higher taxation on people, higher taxation for decades in the middle of a cost of living crisis. So the responsibility for the situation we find ourselves in is with the government. What I want to do is to have an emergency budget so we can actually tackle the cost of living crisis, reduce those tax increases, deal with and help businesses that are really, really struggling to bring down the risk of inflation. So I say again to the government, if you're really serious about dealing with the cost of living crisis, let's have an emergency budget. There's still time in this parliamentary term, and we want to see that budget brought forward.
So to be clear on that issue of a wage price spiral, do you see evidence for potentially for that to come about or not?
Well, look, I think the situation that we find ourselves in is a cause of the government. In the autumn, the Prime Minister was saying we're going to have a high-wage economy, encouraging people down this route. Now he's created the conditions by putting up taxes in the middle of a cost of living crisis where people are really struggling. Talk to the residents here in Crawley. I spoke to one woman this morning. She's doing 3 jobs because she can't make ends meet. She and I are calling on the government an emergency budget to sort this out, including reversing these tax increases, which are really, really hurting people.